The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. In the heart of Oklahoma, the red earth, once fertile, has been turned to dust by years of drought and relentless wind. The land is scarred, the corn is ruined, and the tenant farmers who have worked it for generations face a bleak future. This is the world that Tom Joad returns to in the midst of the Great Depression. A young man with dark, quiet eyes and a steady demeanor, Tom has just been paroled from McAllister Penitentiary after serving 4 years for killing a man in a drunken fight. Hitchhiking his way home, Tom meets a familiar figure from his past, Jim Casey, a former preacher who has lost his faith but not his love for humanity. Casey, a lanky, thoughtful man with a bony face and piercing eyes, has renounced the rigid doctrines of religion and now believes in a universal spirit that unites all people. Together, they arrive at the Joad family farm to find it eerily deserted, the small house pushed off its foundation and the land reclaimed by weeds. They learn from a neighbor, Muley Graves, that the landowners, backed by the banks, have evicted all the tenant families, replacing them with tractors that can farm the land more efficiently. The Joads, like so many others, have been tractored out. Tom and Casey find the family gathered at Uncle John's farm, preparing for a momentous journey. Lured by orange handbills promising plentiful work and high wages, the Joads have decided to pack up their lives and head west to California, the fabled land of milk and honey. The family is a sprawling clan. At its heart is Ma Joad, a woman of immense strength and quiet dignity, the anchor of the family. Her husband, Pa Joad, is a good man, but broken by the loss of their home. The family also includes the fiery and profane grandpa and the pious, sharp-tongued grandma. Uncle John, Pa's lonely, guilt-ridden brother. Noah, the eldest son, who is slow and strangely detached from the world. And the 16-year-old Al, whose passions are cars and girls. Tom's younger sister, Rose of Sharon, is pregnant with her first child, her young husband, Connie Rivers, full of dreams for their future. The youngest Joads are the boisterous Ruthie and the quiet, observant Winfield. The family pools their meager resources to buy a rickety old Hudson truck, which they convert into a makeshift home on wheels. With all their worldly possessions piled high, the 12 Joads and Jim Casey set out on the long and arduous journey along Route 66, the main artery for the westward migration of displaced farmers. The road to California is a brutal one, a trial by dust and sun. The family's old truck breaks down repeatedly, and their money dwindles with each repair and each gallon of gas. They encounter a river of fellow migrants, all heading west with the same desperate hope, and they witness both kindness and hostility from the people they meet along the way. The journey exacts a heavy toll on the family. Grandpa, unable to bear leaving his land, dies of a stroke on their first night on the road. They bury him in a makeshift grave beside the highway, a heartbreaking act that foreshadows the hardships to come. A little later, as they cross the searing Mojave Desert, Grandma also passes away, her death kept a secret by Ma until they are safely across the California border. The family itself begins to fray. Noah, the quiet, introspective son, finds solace in the cool water of the Colorado River and decides he can go no further. He walks away from his family, choosing a life of solitude by the river. Later, in a squalid migrant camp in California, Connie, Rose of Sharon's husband, is overwhelmed by the harsh reality of their situation and the shattering of his dreams of a comfortable life. He abandons his pregnant wife and disappears, leaving Rose of Sharon heartbroken and alone. California, the promised land, proves to be a bitter disappointment. Instead of a land of opportunity, the Joads find a state overwhelmed by desperate migrants, all competing for the few available jobs. They are met with suspicion and contempt from the locals, who derisively call them Okies and see them as ignorant, dirty invaders. They are forced to live in a succession of grim Hoovervilles, makeshift tents and shacks where they face constant hunger, poverty, and the threat of violence from the local authorities. A brief glimmer of hope appears when they find refuge in the Weed Patch Government Camp, a clean and well-organized facility where the migrants govern themselves and are treated with respect. For a short time, the Joads experience a sense of community and dignity they had almost forgotten. But the camp is a temporary haven, and they must soon move on in search of work. Their search leads them to the Hooper Ranch, where they are hired as strikebreakers to pick peaches. Here, Tom is reunited with Jim Casey, who has become a labor organizer, trying to rally the exploited workers for better wages. During a confrontation with vigilantes hired by the ranch owner, Casey is brutally murdered. Enraged, Tom retaliates, killing one of Casey's attackers. He becomes a fugitive, forced to hide from the law. Before he leaves his family, Tom tells his mother that he will dedicate his life to Casey's cause, fighting for the rights of the poor and the oppressed. In a moving farewell, he promises Ma that he'll be all around in the dark, a spirit of resistance wherever people are struggling for justice. The family presses on, finding work picking cotton. They live in a boxcar, their lives reduced to a daily struggle for survival. The work is temporary, and the coming winter looms with the threat of starvation. Then the rains come, and the land is flooded. The Joads are forced to abandon their boxcar, their truck now useless in the rising water. The novel culminates in a scene of devastating hardship and profound humanity. Rose of Sharon, who has been ill and weak, gives birth to a stillborn baby. As the family takes shelter from the flood in an old barn, they find a boy and his starving father. In a final desperate act of compassion, Rose of Sharon, her own hopes for motherhood shattered, offers her breast to the dying man, giving him the milk that was meant for her child. This act of selfless generosity in the face of utter despair affirms the enduring strength of the human spirit and the unbreakable bonds of shared humanity that have sustained the Joads throughout their epic journey.